All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the staggering dominance of the ultimate chess prodigy. We often hear about geniuses who cultivate their craft over decades of grueling study. But today, we're looking at a man who completely defied every conventional rule of mastery. His name was José Raúl Capablanca, and he wasn't just a grandmaster. He was a literal phenomenon who made the most complex game in human history look, well, completely effortless.
Okay, let's start with a number, 34. Seriously, I want you to lock this incredibly low number in your brain as we go through this explainer, because it represents the total career losses of a man who played at the absolute highest level of competitive chess for 30 years, just 34 times. Every grandmaster loses, right? It's literally how they learn, but Capablanca seemingly just forgot how to fail. Today, we're going to reverse engineer exactly how a human being achieved this practically impossible statistic.
Section 1. A fully formed prodigy, defying all expectations.
So our story actually kicks off in Havana, Cuba, back in 1892. Just picture this, a quiet, smoke-filled room. There's a little 4-year-old boy sitting there just watching his dad play chess. Now, here's the crazy part. This kid has never been taught the rules. He hasn't cracked open a single chess book. But when his dad makes an illegal move with a knight, the toddler just laughs and points it out. I mean, no way, right? And the real kicker? A few days later, that same little boy played his dad in their very first game, and he beat him.
His progression from there was just mind-blowing. 4 years old, he plays his first game. Bam! By age 12, he's the champion of Cuba. Fast forward to age 20, he travels to the US and absolutely demolishes the reigning American champion, Frank Marshall. And what you really need to take away here is how he did it. Capablanca wasn't grinding through opening theories or memorizing giant chess books. He relied entirely on this intuitive clarity that honestly defied explanation. It's like he was looking at a completely different board than anyone else in the room.
Section 2. The Human Chess Machine, an art form of pure logic.
So, as he matures into the roaring 20s, Capablanca becomes this massive global celebrity. And to his peers, an absolute terror. They actually gave him this legendary nickname, the Human Chess Machine. Why? Well, it was all about his effortless speed. While other grandmasters were agonizing over the board, sweating, panicking as the clock ticked down, Capablanca rarely, if ever, got into time trouble. He just played with this flowing, elegant speed. It literally looked like he already knew the outcome of the whole game before the first pawn was even pushed.
Section 3. The Immortal Unbeaten Streak. Invincible for 8 years.
63. The sheer magnitude of this number is wild. This represents an era of absolute, undeniable invincibility. For 8 consecutive years, from 1916 all the way to 1924, he played 63 tournament games against the absolute best players on planet Earth, and he didn't lose a single one. Not one tournament loss for 8 solid years. He seemed totally, utterly devoid of human error.
And right smack in the middle of this unbelievable streak, he proved to the world exactly who he was. In 1921, he sat down across from Emanuel Lasker, who was one of the game's greatest legends, and just effortlessly dismantled him to officially claim the title of World Chess Champion. This really puts his greatness into perspective. When you look at the titans of the modern game, guys like Garry Kasparov or Magnus Carlsen, you expect them to have hundreds of career losses, right? Because, well, that's just the nature of competitive chess. But Capablanca? That total of just 34 losses is the lowest of any world champion in the history of the game. Modern champions lose more games in a couple of years than he did in his entire 3-decade career at the very top.
And when we actually break that down into a percentage, it gets even more absurd. Out of his 583 serious adult tournament and match games, fewer than 6% ended in defeat. Let that sink in for a second. Over 94% of the time, he was either winning or drawing against the greatest minds in the world. Defeating José Raúl Capablanca wasn't just difficult. It was a historic event. Honestly, if you beat him, it was the headline of your life.
Section 4. The Shock of 1927. Invincibility ends.
Now, as we see so often in history, invincibility kind of breeds complacency. And this clash of styles perfectly sets up his downfall. On one side, you've got Capablanca. He rarely studied opening theory, relying pretty much entirely on his natural endgame mastery and just raw intuition. On the other side, you have his challenger for the 1927 World Championship, Alexander Alekhine. Alekhine was a Russian grandmaster who was hyper-prepared,
intensely focused, and constantly surrounded by just mountains of chess books. It was the ultimate showdown, right? Raw, unstudied genius versus relentless, grinding preparation.
When they finally met up in Buenos Aires, it wasn't a quick sprint. It was this grueling marathon of a match lasting 34 games. And for the very first time, Capablanca's reliance on pure intuition actually fell short. The unthinkable happened. The machine was finally outstudied, worn down, and defeated by Alekhine. It basically proved that even the greatest natural talent in the world can eventually be toppled if they're up against relentless, methodical preparation.
Section 5. An untouched legacy, unmatched in history.
Capablanca tragically passed away in 1942 without ever getting a rematch. But his legacy bridges right into the modern era. Today, we have these chess supercomputers, engines that calculate millions of positions a second to find the mathematically perfect move. But here's the crazy thing. When analysts plug Capablanca's games from the 1910s and 20s into these modern engines, they find that his purely intuitive moves match the computer's top-tier recommendations more closely than almost any other player of his era. He didn't need calculating machines because, well, his brain was the machine. He was perfectly predicting the most optimal, mathematically sound moves decades before supercomputers even existed, just by flowing the flow of the board.
So, I want to leave you with this thought to end our explainer today. We live in an age where every top player studies databases and memorizes complex computer lines, but José Raúl Capablanca did it purely through natural, unexplainable genius. So what do you think? Was Capablanca a one-of-a-kind anomaly of the human brain? Or will the chess world ever again witness someone who makes the most complex game in human history look entirely, beautifully effortless? Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and keep asking those big questions.